How undignified would I be to come to Germany and not drive a German car? So this is the 5th series, specifically the mild hybrid 8th generation 520i, or some of you may know it with the codename of the G60. The 520i is the cheapest version of the 5 series. However, it still does have 205 brake horsepower. But there are 2 other variants and they're both plug-in hybrids. The first being the 530e, which has 295 brake horsepower. And then we have the 50e, which does have 482 many horses. Power is sent through an automatic 8-speed transmission, and the 0 to 60 time on this car is 7.5 seconds, with a top speed of 143 miles per hour, which I certainly don't think is shabby at all, considering the car is over 5 meters long, actually making this the longest 5 series ever produced. To put that into perspective, this 5 series takes up the same space and the same footprint as the old 7 series. That's pretty long. For over half a century, the 5th series has been the epitome of sport, business and comfort. And I definitely think on terms of looks, the 8th generation certainly does not disappoint. BMW have certainly stuck to being very traditional with the makeup of the 5 series, such as having a long wheelbase or having this really elongated front bonnet. They certainly do have really lovely alloys, which is the 19-inch alloys, and that really adds to the elegance of the car. Now, BMW have conjured up some rather interesting names for colours, some being fire red or mineral white, and they do sound quite cool. This one sounds like they had inspiration from Currys because it's called Frozen Deep Grey. They might as well call it Frozen Deep Freezer at this point. Now, this particular model has been in production since 2023. Now, to hazard a guess to how it will age in, let's say, 10 years' time, I certainly do have quite high hopes. It certainly is a very nice looking car, and I do think it will age quite gracefully. Now, BMW have provided 520 litres in the boot. You do lose some space due to some of this caving on these side panels here, but overall it is pretty decent. You can certainly get 2 healthy sized suitcases in. If I pull this lever here, that essentially makes the back seats be able to go down, so you can put all your golf clubs or whatever you fancy in the back. And I also do love a button which closes the boot. Now, moving on to the interior, this specific finishing is in dark grey. It's got this carbon fibre on the panelling here, and it's apparently got high gloss grey threads in the seats, which certainly sounds very lavish. I would say it is quite extravagant in here, to be fair. You certainly do feel very luxurious when you do sit in here. This car specifically has the technology package, and for some reason that entails an internal camera. Now, it says that you can check the interior of your car through your phone, or on the BMW website it says it spontaneously takes photos of your trip for lasting memories. I do have to think how absolutely unnecessary that is. Now, I really do like how the armrest opens. It is quite theatrical, so you just press this button and it opens in the middle. It is quite convenient because if you're eating a packet of crisps and they happen to get stuck in the middle, easy cleaning. Visibility is mildly questionable in this car, especially towards the back. It's just a little bit limited. However, while saying that, this is a fairly big car to park, and to have comfort and ease, you do get a reversing camera with sensors all around the car as standard. You can pay up and go a little bit more pro and get a 360 bird's eye camera view. Now, some bones to pick, and it does start with the infotainment system. And I have to say, I'm from the generation of technology and I find this much too chaotic. There's several unnecessary apps that certainly can be merged into, let's say, one app, And let's not even get started on the haptic controls. So if you're using the infotainment system, you're finding that your elbow or just something to rest your elbow on is knocking all the haptic controls. We also have this rotary dial here, and just to move the rotary dial for some reason, it's just really stiff. It just doesn't move very much, and it's just not really the most ergonomic as a general. I do think they ought to simplify it, and it would just make life a million times easier. You do, however, get 12 Harman and Kardon speakers in the car, and they sound like this. Now, if you're anything like me and you do love your music, these speakers are pretty impressive. They do have hi-fi quality audio. They aren't as good as, I'd say, Bang & Olufsen. I think they're probably a little bit better, but it's still very impressive. Now, sitting in the back, you certainly get ample room. You're not reclined at a weird angle, so you are sat quite comfortably, and you also get adequate under thigh support. You also do get quite a vast amount of headroom, so if you're someone who's a bit taller, you will have absolutely no issues at all. This car also comes with 4-way climate control, so you are able to change the temperature to whatever tickles your fancy. Also, what I will say, in the Pro package, you can actually get heated seats for your back passengers, which I'm sure they will appreciate. Now, right now it is quite harsh weathers in Germany, but what I will say, this car is handling very, very well. There's no traction being lost at all. It is quite smooth overall. You do feel little lumps and bumps coming through the tyres up into the interior, but overall it is quite a comfortable drive. I wouldn't say it's anything to write home about. It's not the most exhilarating drive. It doesn't fly into corners, but there's no body roll either, so it's just a very comfortable drive, and I would quite enjoy doing a long road trip in this. This car, taking it on the Autobahn, it is really, really fun. It's quite hard to catch it at the moment, considering with the weather at the moment, and there is a lot of limiters. But when you do catch it and you do really put your foot down, it does take a little bit for that ignition to really kick in and to gain speed. But when it gains speed, it keeps it. And it certainly does allow you to have a really good amount of fun on the road. The official MPG on this car is 47.8, and I do think it is actually quite impressive. Now, using this real life, I went on a trip yesterday and it was around 3 hours, roughly around that, and it genuinely really hasn't shifted, and I think that is due to the mild hybrid. Now, if you're really looking for a car with great economy, I actually surprisingly think this is quite a good choice. Now, BMW, what they are doing is they are selling all their little extras in packs, and that can be, for example, the heads-up display. You can't solemnly just get it, and the problem with that is you're paying thousands of pounds for additional extras which maybe you didn't want. For example, if you didn't want this camera at the top, then unfortunately is either you get the camera at the top and the heads-up display, or you sacrifice not having a heads-up display, which is a bit of a shame because you might have to put some tape over your camera at the top, but it is what it is. My final verdict, let's say, do I like this car? Yes, I do. Would I personally own this car? Not particularly. What I'm finding with this is BMW have tried to create this luxury car and almost overcompensated, whether that be the infotainment system or the center console dash. It looks great, but I think the price that you're paying for it, is it worth what amount of car you're getting? And I have to say, as much as I do love it, it's not for me. But this is what she sounds like.